white flashing, I'm not sure. It's not like it's coming from the front. Yeah, it's coming out front. I don't see white flashing, but it's just the horn going on.
I parked out back, there's a sign that use the other door. We do it, that's their line, and they take a sign. I tell you, so I'm trying to put those, you know, as I cut each one, I'm fitting it to make sure that it's, and as I'm doing it, I got, you know, reaching around and go back and trying to back them up, so that's.
You know, it's stuff.
I'm finally figured out the afraid of the mail. You know, so the easy thing is I haven't gotten to yet. I think before you can get back to that, but I thought it was for a couple things that you got to if I had to do it over again, but. Well, let me tell you what I worked on this week.
Uh-huh.
18, 14 or 15. Little couch.
Well, no. Oh,
I
okay.
got to put some slats.
Okay. We'll get to go with all of it for them.
Yeah, someone gave me the bed to do this.
Okay.
Turn it on. They did. Whoever part was, they figured it out.
I think it might have been women, but when she was. Somebody pushed the button and. Oh, it was sounding like it was coming from her car, that's why I heard it. Oh, push the button. Somebody, yeah, well, if the button on this side is you were on the other side, he's in the parking lot. And just as I got called.
This is the one thing I don't know how long that I've been. You set it off. The packet.
Oh, I know.
No, I, so I couldn't tell who was right in the block or if it was wrong. It's more, well, go back, you haven't been here since I've been here. Oh, job.
How you feel?
I've been here.
Okay, okay. So both of us are here. Hello. That's what I mean. It's today first event. Hopefully it was a good day. Here, next week the kids. That's hard to do.
Go ahead and call this study session to order at 6:30 p.m. Y'all will be reminded to turn on your microphones, make sure the green light is on.
To our American flag.
It's
In the hallway.
We were in the hallway the other day. I don't know why, but that's what it was. I wondered that too. I was like. That's what we got back.
Thanks, Andy. All right, we'll all stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
Nation.
Council members, please be reminded to either turn off your cell phones, turn them on silent, and to remove them from desktops. City clerk, can you go take a roll call first, please?
Councilmember Williams,
Present.
Reed.
Here.
Jackson,
Here.
Lawler,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
French,
Here.
and Mayor Fernandez.
Here. So our study session is to review the items that'll be on the regular agenda for this evening. First one is to approve the resolution 2022-27 to approve the Oprah certificate for the Erie Street apartment. There are no.
Good evening, everyone. So as Mayor said, the Erie Street Apartments LLC refers to the property 112 East Erie Street, which includes a couple of 4 apartments on the upper floor and then 2 large commercial spaces where the food hub used to be just on Erie Street, just by Subway there. So what we are asking you to do tonight is approve an obsolete property rehabilitation exemption certificate. So this resolution is to approve that certificate that Mr. Verbecki, the owner of Erie Street Apartments LLC, has requested. So this is a document that gets local approval first and then goes on to the state treasury to freeze the taxable value of the property at will be this year's tax rate in anticipation of and in exchange for development that Mr. Verbecki will have carried out at that address. So to take obsolete property, that's the O, and rehabilitate it. So that is what has been asked for tonight. He's asking for 10 years of that exemption. You have the authority to grant between 1 and 12 years. We at this point are definitely recommending you just go with the 10 that has been requested. That has been requested by the applicant based on his own financials about how to make this rehabilitation project feasible. And this is something that we want to see in our downtown. We want to see the obsolete spaces redeveloped into something more purposeful, useful, and safe.
Do we have any questions for Director Art?
I can just add a little bit more. The city council, we approved the Oprah district. I believe it was in 2020. And then earlier this year, we approved the formal Oprah policy, which outlines the number of years a developer can request. The request per this developer falls in line with our resolution. They actually, our policy, they actually could request the full 12 years. However, they've just asked for 10 years. So we'll lock that current taxable value in for 10 years. And then upon the expiration of that, the Oprah request, it will then go to the new taxable value based off of the new development for that structure.
Now, the Erie Street Apartments, exactly where is that?
That is right next to the Subway. It's where the food hub used to be. So you've got
Okay.
2 kind of commercial spaces downstairs. And then there's in 2 different stairways up from that building, 4 total studio apartments upstairs. I've been in them with our assessor and with the property owner. They're in bad shape, but they're not so far gone that, you know, it needs a whole tear down and rebuild. So I think they're a great candidate for this exemption, and that's, I think, why we set up the district.
Colin,
I'm just curious, where's the 10-year coming from? Because their application's for less than 1 year.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. 2020.
Where on the,
On their application it says date of commencement of rehabilitation 3/1 of 23, and their planned date of completion is 10/31 of 2023.
yes, so they're not going to take a whole 10 years to complete the construction. That's the rehabilitation is taking place over that 1 year period. They're asking for the exemption for longer for the term on that investment.
So just so you're aware, the resolution is drafted for a 1-year exemption. So if that's something that, if we're looking at a 10-year, we'll need to amend that.
Yeah.
But it was drafted based on the application being for less than a year.
Gotcha.
Will we need to table this so they can?
Yeah, and I was looking, because I.
You can just amend the ordinance to change it from 1 year to 10 years and then vote on it.
I wouldn't recommend tabling it because we had a public hearing was required for this application and that notice has already been published. For that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We found out the resolution appropriately there. There isn't exactly a checkbox on the application to state how long he wants the exemption for. I didn't catch that in the resolution.
What
So
was the public hearing? Because I seen that,
That's
well,
tonight.
wasn't, that's tonight, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I took it.
Question. Is this consistent with previous or other properties that have been obsolete, so to speak?
you know, I wasn't here when the others were done, but I believe the only 2 other properties that were done with this exemption, the
We only have,
Ludington Center.
yep, we only have one current Oprah exemption which is the Ludington Center. And yes, they followed that same process. I believe they have longer than 2 years. I think they took the full amount, the 12-year
And they
exemption.
just took basically 1 year
To
to complete it.
do the physical project, yes.
Yes.
Now, it's not that, they're not paying any taxes, they're just paying for reduce.
And I went ahead and looked up what their summer taxes were. And it's about $3,000 just for the summer taxes in 2022. That's what's owed. I didn't really have a way to see if that was winter as well as summer, but they're paying an amount on taxes. It's just so that they complete their rehabilitation after making this investment and have a tax break from it for a period of time.
Right.
Again, sorry for the misprint in the resolution there. I guess would change our recommendation to asking you to amend that for the full 10 years and approve that.
so that it should read beginning December 31st, 2022 and ending December 30th, 2033.
Yes.
Colin, is that correct?
What page is that? Because
Yeah, so,
So it's actually
Page
page
4.
4 of the packet.
so yeah, it'll say in the, under the first resolve, the 4th line down, it'll say for a period of 10 years. Beginning December 31, 2022 and ending December 30. Excuse me. 2032, yeah, and 31.
I'm looking at.
I
that.
get 32.
I'm on application, I mean, page.
You're starting in
Page
22.
6.
No, I'm
No,
saying
the-
23,
Yeah,
24,
I see the
25,
resolution,
26,
I'm looking
27,
at that
28,
page.
29,
That's why I got the
30.
numbers from.
1,
Yeah,
2,
I see that. Thank you.
The 1 year in the application. just-
Okay,
because it's the last.
Period.
2030.
that's what I said, yeah.
I thought you said 2033.
Nah,
No,
y'all.
we're talking about
y'all said the same thing.
2033.
Oh, okay.
10 years.
That's what I
10
mean.
years.
So if you're curious about any specifics of the project itself,
Read that.
the property owner is expected to be at your regular meeting tonight. So I'm sure you'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Just on the rehabilitation itself.
So when that comes up on your agenda, what I'd recommend is that you just move to approve it with the amendment that it be reflected 10 years and that the end date be December 30, 2032.
Sounds good.
Any other questions for Director Arnold or our city manager?
How many units you said it was again?
4 residential.
4 units, okay. Does the Oprah fall under the commercial units as well, or just the residential?
So the parcel is mixed use. It's got residential uses and commercial uses.
Gotcha.
It consists of 108, 110, 112, and 114 East Erie, but the legal parcel, I'm using that term because that's what's being assessed for taxes,
Right,
is 112 West Erie, and it encompasses the residential and commercial spaces.
okay, perfect.
So the commercial will continue, just the residential will be.
Yeah, well, he's rehabilitating the whole building. Yeah, it's adding housing and adding updated commercial space.
It was my understanding, when the EDC had control of the building for the food hub, that was the second tier. If they could get themselves evenly balanced, profitable, however you want to describe it, that they would then use resources to renovate upstairs so that they could do the same kinds of things that are happening in cities all over the country, where the cost of rent of a commercial space is lowered because you're making some income off the rental property upstairs. And that obviously didn't happen because they weren't able to make the food hub a profitable entity. So
And the building was formerly owned by the Albion Building Authority, and they actually sold the building. And yes, they were going to do just that, to obtain funds to redo the apartments up top, but the board decided they did not want to take on that task and be actual landlords to oversee that property. So as a board, they decided to sell the property to someone else to handle this. ACE Properties or ACE Investments purchased that, I believe was at the end of 2019 or 2020.
2020.
I've seen that in here, but I don't remember what day it was.
All right, we're good on this topic? All right, thank you, Ian. Discussion on the water rate increase. Do we have any questions on that?
I do. So I forgot to ask you, Haley. So I know that our water rates are not high enough to be able to get a grant. What we're saying in the grant, like how high we need to go, the percentage.
They don't set
get
it, they don't tell us the percentage that we need to get. They have requirements that once our rates get to a certain, they will assess to see if we fall under their qualities to become a disadvantaged or burdened community. When this should be no surprise to council, because we had a study session on this earlier this year. Our water rates, they continue to operate, revenues fall below the expenditures for each year. They have not been raised since 2014. And Councilmember Jackson, her question, I shared with her and Mayor when I had our agenda meeting last week, that we met with actually a grant program that provides an opportunity for communities to identify grant opportunities for water investment or infrastructure projects. Unfortunately, since our rates are so low, we technically don't qualify to utilize their service. So they recommend that we apply or get our rates raised because this program is open to communities that fall under the burden or disadvantage classification. And when they say that, that just means that our rates, according to their parameters, our rates are so low that our residents could take on they could be raised to where our residents could afford higher rates than what they currently are. Our rates right now, they're ranked, this was done a few years ago, but we are ranked 45th out of 52 municipalities in the state. So we have relatively low water rates. So we are looking for a proposed increase of 50% for the rate structure and 120% for the commodity charge. And now those figures are included in the package to exactly what that will be. So right now our commodity charge is $1.42. It would be increased to $3.12. And then based off of the water measure, or how big of a water line you have going into our house. I believe everybody has the 5/8 inch, which is standard. So it'd be increased from $24 to $36. So obviously, we are recommending that we do raise these rates so that we can qualify for some of the grant programs that are available. We ran into the similar situation with our wastewater rates. That's why we had to increase those significantly the past few years, because when we applied through USDA, we did not qualify for any of the grant funding through there. We actually had to, we only qualified for a loan. So I think this is important that we do not minimal increases each year, so that when these opportunities become available, we don't have to do such a large increase, which could essentially be a burden for our residents.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Reed?
I think this would have been good to have in a newspaper article, because a lot of people have been asking about it, because they're expecting a real large rate increase. And so, you know, they're saying, okay, well, they want this, you want this, you want this, you know, and everything's going up, and we can't afford to do that, you know, and so it would have been good if this had went out to the people, because I was thinking myself, I said, now, if my water bill this month is $123, what is it gonna be after this happens?
Yep.
And so if they knew that, then it would be easier to accept that it's not gonna go up $50 or $60, but it might go up $10, $20.
Yeah, so this rate increase will not go into effect until the start of next year. So we have time to notify our residents. There are materials included in the packet of what we will be mailing out to all of our residents and business owners. We brought this before council to get this approved so that we can work this new figure into our budget. As I shared with you, we are currently preparing the 2023 budget. And these rates will have a significant impact on our water funds for that process. So we have talked about this. We are making sure that flyers will be mailed out to every single resident. It'll be posted on our website. It'll be shared in the newspaper, and they do not go into effect until 2023. So they do have time. Businesses have time to make adjustments to their budget or when preparing for next year's budget, and same as our residents. So we are planning to notify them, similar to what we did with the wastewater when we raised the wastewater rates.
And do we have a sense as to when the last time for the 2014?
Yes, so the water rates were last raised in 2014. And included in the packet, there's kind of a proposed 2023 utility billing breakdown. So it will show what based off if it's a 1-person home, 2-person home, 3-person home, and 4-person home, and it will reflect the new water rates as well as the utility rates. So they will have an idea of what they can anticipate to their utility billing being for this upcoming year.
Do we have any other questions for City Manager Snyder? Yep. Sorry, Councilman Williams.
Yes, being that we don't know how much we need to actually raise the rates to get the, to start receiving grant funding or applying, how do we end up at 120%?
So we don't know for the grant program, but these are based off of it's also included in the packet, the preliminary engineering report. So we've been working with Whiteman and Associates to develop our water asset management plan. So they've come up with a PER, which identifies different projects that we need to complete for our water infrastructure. That includes a series of water main replacements, a second water tower, and other different projects. So these rates are based off of that PER that was established for our water asset management plan. So whether we get the additional grant funding, we know we need to raise our rates so that we can pay to have the projects that have been identified in our water asset management plan. That's where these figures come from.
Thank you.
Any other questions for City Manager?
So a second water tower, I know about 3 years ago, they were talking about one, but we had more people in the city then. So another water tower being thought about?
Yes, so that's what's included in this asset management plan would be the additional second water tower. And although we had more people, but based off of our current tower, we're still not storing the appropriate storage amount. So that is why they recommend us bringing it. It won't be quite as big, I believe, as our current water tower, but it will be an additional storage space. But I know that's been in the talks for several years, and I think that was the holdup, is getting our rates to a level that could fund that project.
Councilman Trent?
As I recall, from back in the earlier time back in 2017, 16, we talked about this before. The idea was we needed to add, according to new federal guidelines for fire protection, we needed 1.5 million gallons above ground. And so then the idea with the 429 project, and that is potentially industrial use, having the water tower there, which is the highest elevation, would also address that issue. So we can expand into the 429 project area for industry and then have the capacity, water capacity for that industry to be viable.
Approve the resolution. Sorry. Sorry, not resolution, but the proposal for downtown parking management study.
Why are we doing it?
Put that.
Why are we doing it?
So our Downtown Development Authority or DDA, they have had discussions over the past few meetings on updating the downtown parking management study. The last one that was done was in 2006. With the recent development downtown, and we know that we were going to have even more development, it's a good, we need to get ahead of it and start properly planning to make sure that we have enough parking spaces in our downtown area to accommodate and support that level of development. So they released a formal proposal to hire a consultant to take on that task to update the parking study and help us come up with a management system for downtown parking. We received 3 bids for that. So before you is, this was presented to the their last week's meeting. They approved to move forward with Rich and Associates parking consultants with the recommendation to split the cost with the city of Albion, since the city, we do own several parking spaces in the downtown area. The total bid amount was $22,550. So they have committed $11,275, with the city would cover that additional $11,275.
We have questions on this item?
Is this just for the downtown or is it behind the building street?
Yes, it'll encompass all of the downtown area. So some of the city-owned parking lots are behind the buildings, and Stouffer Plaza is included in that as well.
How much of that property do the city property?
I believe we own to the telephone pole. We own up to the building, and then it's owned by another business behind.
Any other questions or comments? Item approving resolution 2022-28 for $200,000 from the Albion Trust. We have comments or questions on this? Yep. Councilwoman Lowe?
Thank you so much. So what is it costing? Is it costing us the whole $200,000 to fix these 2 parks? Or are you trying to add more parks? Or I'm just trying to figure out why we gotta come up with so much.
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
So the gift from the DeNicola family asked us to match the $1 million that he gave us with another $1 million. And if we do that, we get another $1 million from the DeNicola family. So this request helps us get to $1 million raised to match the DeNicola gift. And that gift is to fund park restoration, renovation, redevelopment. So it's not adding new parks, it's just finding parks that need rehabilitation, identifying them, and allotting money. The other thing that helps with this fundraising effort is that if we are able to get the 200, if this council approves $200,000 request from the Albion Trust, and the Albion Trust gives us $200,000, a private donor will give us another $100,000.
Just for these 2 parks, or are you adding more? Parks?
So the $1 million gift is for lots of parks in order to allocate and to get approval from council, it was suggested that we recommend some parks. And so that's what this recommendation is about. So McAuliffe Park, which is right on the river trail, it's part of the Austin Avenue corridor, makes a good choice for that park. It's used quite a bit. There's a baseball, softball field there. There's places for people to sit and have conversations. The river trail runs right across it. So it makes an ideal choice.
So through this donation from the DeNicola family, they identified 13 different projects that they would like to see their donation to the city, those funds go towards. The Victory Park, the large pavilion in Victory Park, that's one of the projects. McAuliffe Park, the recommendations that Councilmember Reed included, they're not included as 13 projects, but one was to update all of park signage. So all of our parks would get new signage, which McAuliffe Park would. So the 13 parks, the projects have been identified, and that's what the donor would like their donation to go towards. But this request from the Albion Trust would then be able to fund some of the projects that you guys have identified through this resolution. So we're talking a total of $4 million to go into the city's park spaces. 2 million of that being from a private donor, with the community foundation matching an additional $2 million.
Do you think that doing this solves our poverty problem?
It does not, but it's either we can accept this donation from a donor, or you always have the right to say no, but I think it would eliminate, another burden that we have. We have over 17 park spaces in our community that we have a very small park budget to tend to. So I think that would take care of that burden, where then we can start focusing on other needs in our community. So I thank the DeNicola family for making this generous donation to our community to address all of our park spaces.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments?
No, it would just be nice if we could have seen a complete list of what they wanted to do.
It's been given to council.
I know it's been given to council as well as our Recreation Commission. It's detailed in the blueprint for a better Albion. But all of the 13 projects have been shared with both boards.
Colin?
I just want to remind you, Ms. Mayor, that
Oh, yeah.
once we're getting toward the almost 7, we just have to leave some time for public comment if there is any.
So it looks like most of the other stuff is discussion items anyway. Do we have any other questions or comments before we open it up to public comment? All right. So if we have anybody in the gallery that would like to stand for public comments, they can do so at this time and have 3 minutes. Anybody else? So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Study session adjourned 6:59 PM.